Every morning, before the world even knows your name, before the noise of the day begins, the real battle starts. Not outside, not in the office, not in the gym, not on the streets, but in front of that mirror. It's the quietest war you'll ever fight, yet it determines everything about your day, your life, and your destiny. Because staring back at you is the only opponent that truly matters to you. The reflection that knows your fears, your excuses, your past failures, your broken promises, and your unfinished goals. That reflection is the version of you that whispers, "Not today." It's the voice that tries to convince you that it's okay to settle, to delay, to shrink instead of rise. It's that voice that says, "You're tired. You've tried enough. You deserve a break." It's that familiar comfort that pulls you back into old habits, convincing you that tomorrow will somehow be easier. But tomorrow never gets easier, only you do. And if you don't silence that voice today, it will drown out your dreams one whisper at a time. Because that voice doesn't shout, it seduces, it tempts, it comforts. It wraps you in the illusion of safety while slowly stealing the fire that once burned in you. Think about it. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, every time you delay what you know you should do, that version of you, the weaker one, wins another round. And that victory comes at a cost to your potential, the opportunities you never take, the strength you never build, the life you never live. This battle is not about who you are now, it's about who you could become. And the mission is brutally simple: silence that voice, one decision, one action, one choice at a time. You see, the world won't stop you. The people who doubt you aren't powerful enough to hold you back. The obstacles in your way aren't permanent. What holds you back isn't the size of the mountain. It's the weight of your own hesitation. It's the belief that you can't climb it, the story you keep telling yourself about why you're not ready yet. But you are ready. You've been ready. You've just been waiting for permission that no one's ever going to give you. Because no one can fight this battle for you. No one can silence that inner critic except the one who hears it the loudest, you. You know what that voice feeds on? Doubt. And every time you hesitate, it grows stronger. Every time you say, "Maybe later," it becomes louder. But every time you act, every time you show up, even when you're tired, even when you're afraid, you starve that voice. You strip it of power. You remind it that you're the one in control. Because discipline, not motivation, is what quiets that inner noise. Motivation fades, but discipline builds. The real victory happens in the small, unseen moments, when you push yourself to wake up earlier, to take one more step, to give one more ounce of effort when no one's watching. You might not win every day, but every day you fight, you get stronger. And that's what matters. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. The mission isn't to become flawless, it's to become fearless. Not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of it. Fear means you care. It means you're standing on the edge of growth. And that's where the real transformation happens, right on the edge where most people give up. But you're not most people, are you? Because you've seen what giving up feels like. You've felt that regret. You've lived through that frustration of knowing you could have done more. This time you're not walking that path again. Every morning, the mirror offers two reflections. The one you've been and the one you're meant to become. One holds you back with comfort. The other calls you forward with challenge. You get to choose which reflection wins. The problem is the old version of you won't go quietly. It'll fight to stay alive because it fears growth. Growth means death for who you used to be. And that's why this battle is so painful, because to win, you have to let parts of yourself die. The lazy part, the doubtful part, the one that lives for short-term comfort instead of long-term purpose. But once you start winning these small inner wars, something incredible happens. That voice that once said, "You can't," begins to say, "Maybe you can." And then one day you will. That's how transformation begins, not with loud applause or public victories, but with quiet defiance in the face of your own limits. You start becoming the person who doesn't wait for the right time, who doesn't need perfect conditions, who doesn't fear the work. You start trusting yourself, not because life got easier, but because you got tougher. So tomorrow morning, when you stand before that mirror again, remember this isn't just another day. It's another round, another chance to rewrite the story, another chance to prove that you can outlast your old excuses. You don't need to be the strongest, the fastest, or the smartest. You just need to be more consistent than the person you were yesterday. Because every time you rise when you could have stayed down, every time you move forward when it would have been easier to quit, you're winning battles that no one can see, but everyone will feel when they see the results. Don't underestimate what happens when you start winning the war within. It changes everything, your confidence, your energy, your presence. The world starts to respond differently to you, not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting to feel ready. You stopped needing validation. You stopped being your own enemy and became your own ally. And that's the moment you become unstoppable, when you realize that no one outside you has any power greater than the power you hold within. So the next time you hear that inner voice whisper, "Not today," smile, because that's the moment you know the battle has begun, and this time you're ready. This time, you fight back. This time you win. The version of you that hits snooze, that doubts, that quits halfway, that version has stolen more from you than any critic, any hater, or any obstacle ever could. That version has robbed you of moments you can't get back, of chances you didn't take, of strength you never discovered. It's the version that convinces you to wait for the right time, that whispers that success is for other people, that tells you it's safer to stay where you are. But deep down, you know it's lying. Because the truth is, every time you give in to that weaker version, you betray the person you're meant to become. You hand over your power, your focus, your future, and you get nothing in return except regret. That version of you loves comfort more than progress. It's addicted to excuses. It thrives on procrastination. It knows every reason why you shouldn't start. Too tired, too late, too hard, too risky. It tells you to slow down when it's time to push. It convinces you that one day of rest won't matter, that skipping today won't hurt, that you can always begin again tomorrow. But here's the truth that voice doesn't want you to realize: tomorrow doesn't change anything unless you do. Because the version of you that keeps quitting halfway has already mastered the art of starting over, not growing, not finishing, just starting again. You've met that version countless times. It's the one that gets excited at the beginning, fueled by motivation and adrenaline, ready to take on the world until things get difficult, until results don't show fast enough, until the grind starts feeling heavier than the dream. Then that version fades, disappears, and waits for another spark of inspiration to come back. But you've outgrown that cycle. This time, it's not about hype, it's about hunger. This time, it's not about saying you'll do it. It's about doing it when no one believes you will. You've wasted enough energy trying to prove yourself to people who stopped watching a long time ago. You've spent too many days chasing validation from those who don't understand your journey. This time, it's not about them. You're showing up for you. You're showing up for that little spark that refuses to die, that quiet belief that you're capable of more. Because when you stop competing with others and start competing with who you were yesterday, everything changes. You stop measuring your worth by other people's success and start measuring it by your own progress. The truth is, there will always be someone doing better than you. Someone richer, stronger, faster, more talented. But they're not your enemy. They're not your competition. The only real competition is the person you were the day before. And if you can beat that version, you've already won. Because when you compete with others, you chase their path. When you compete with yourself, you create your own. That's where freedom lies, not in being better than them, but in being better than you. Think of the version of you that always finds a way to back out when things get hard. The one that feels overwhelmed, unsure, insecure. Now imagine standing face to face with that version, not to fight it, but to outgrow it. To let it watch as you become everything it said you couldn't be. You don't have to destroy that version, you have to evolve beyond it. Because you can't build the future you want while dragging along the habits that built the life you're trying to leave behind. This time, you're not chasing a finish line. You're chasing a mindset. The mindset that refuses to break under pressure, that shows up even when motivation is gone. The mindset that doesn't quit halfway just because it's not easy anymore. Because easy never changed anyone. Growth comes from the struggle. Strength is born in the moments that make you question whether it's worth it. And the answer is always yes, it's worth it, because you are worth it. There's a moment in every journey where the excitement fades, the path gets longer, and the results don't show. That's where most people quit. That's where the weaker version takes over. But that's also the exact moment when transformation begins. Because if you can keep moving when everything in you screams to stop, you'll discover a version of yourself that's unshakable. That's the person you've been chasing all along. And when you start showing up for yourself like that, consistently, quietly, relentlessly, something inside you shifts. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop giving yourself permission to quit. You start realizing that the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't measured in time or talent. It's measured in discipline. Every time you choose to push through, to try again, to show up, you close that gap a little more. The people around you might not notice at first. They might not see the hours you put in, the sacrifices you make, the effort that goes unseen. But you'll notice, you'll feel it. You'll wake up one day with the realization that you're not that same person anymore. You've outgrown your old limits. The version of you that hit snooze has been replaced by the one that gets up with purpose. The one that used to quit halfway has been replaced by the one that finishes what they start. The one that doubted every step has been replaced by the one that trusts the process. And it all begins the moment you stop chasing others and start chasing your own reflection. Because the truth is, there's no finish line in self-improvement. There's only evolution. You don't arrive, you become. You don't win once, you win every day. You show up when you could have stayed down. Every day you move forward when it would have been easier to stop. Every day you do something your old self wouldn't have done. That's victory. That's progress. So yes, that weaker version of you has stolen enough of your dreams. It's taken enough from you. Your time, your energy, your belief. But not anymore. This time you're not here to play small. You're not here to give half effort. You're not here to chase applause. You're here to rise. You're here to become the person who finishes what they start. The person who doesn't fold when life gets hard. The person who doesn't let fear make decisions anymore. Because when you finally stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against who you were yesterday, the game changes completely. You start realizing that progress is personal. That success isn't about being ahead of anyone. It's about being ahead of the version of you that once thought you couldn't do it. You stop chasing comparison and start chasing growth. And when you do that, when you fully commit to your own evolution, you become something unstoppable. You've fallen, you've failed, you've been counted out, and it's okay. Because every great story begins with someone who refused to stay down. The ground has known your face, your tears, your pain. You've been there at rock bottom where the silence is loud and the doubt feels heavier than the world itself. You've heard the laughter of those who didn't believe in you. You've seen doors close. You've tasted disappointment more times than you can count. But somehow, even when everything inside you whispered, give up, something deeper, something unbreakable, kept you alive. That voice inside, quiet but steady, said not yet. This time, you're not rising for attention or approval. You're not rising to prove a point. You're rising because you finally understand something that failure tried to teach you. You are built for more. Every scar, every setback, every loss has carved strength into your bones. You've learned that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Those scars you carry, they're not signs of weakness. They're medals of survival. They tell the story of someone who faced storms and refused to break. You've learned that falling doesn't make you a failure. Staying down does. And you've done enough of that. You've spent enough time listening to the voice that said you weren't ready, that you weren't capable, that you'd never make it. But look at you, still here, still breathing, still fighting. Every time life pushed you down, you rose a little stronger, a little wiser, a little more certain of who you are and what you're made of. This time, you're not just standing up, you're rising with purpose. The lessons that once broke you are now your armor. The pain that once made you question yourself now fuels you. You've learned that success doesn't come from comfort. It comes from the struggle. And struggle, you've had plenty. But with every struggle came growth. With every loss came wisdom. You've discovered that the world's opinion of you doesn't define you. You do. The world can count you out, doubt you, underestimate you. But they can't define you. They don't get to write your ending. You've seen what happens when you let failure control you. You stop trying, you shrink, you disappear. But not this time. Because this time, you've seen what happens when you don't quit. You've seen what happens when you push through the pain. Growth happens, change happens, power happens. The kind of power that doesn't come from applause or praise, but from knowing you kept going when everything in you wanted to stop. That's the kind of power that builds champions. The kind that builds you. You've failed before, yes. But those failures weren't endings, they were instructions. They taught you what doesn't work, what doesn't serve you, what doesn't deserve your energy. They taught you patience, resilience, and self-trust. Because nothing builds confidence like surviving what was meant to break you. You've faced storms that would have destroyed others. And yet you're still here. You've outlasted every doubt, every fear, every setback. You've proven that even at your lowest, you're still unshakable. And now you rise differently. You rise not with the hunger to be seen, but with the peace of knowing you've already earned your place. You rise with gratitude for every fall that forced you to grow. You rise with vision, with clarity, with the understanding that you no longer need the world's validation. Because the truth is, the world will never see your worth until you do, and now you do. You've realized that the power to change your life was never in their hands. It's always been in yours. When it's you vs you, the only rule is simple: don't quit. You can stumble, you can fall, you can fail 1,000 times, but you can't quit. Because quitting is the only thing that guarantees you'll never see what you're capable of. Every time you get back up, you remind the universe that you're not done yet. You remind your fears that they don't own you. You remind your past that it doesn't define you. You've learned that resilience isn't built in comfort. It's built in chaos. It's built in moments when everything goes wrong and you decide to keep going anyway. It's built in the silence when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when no one believes in you, and yet you move. That's the kind of strength you've built, the kind that doesn't fade when life gets hard, the kind that refuses to break. You've reached a point now where failure doesn't scare you, stagnation does. Because failure means you're trying. It means you're alive. It means you still have something inside you that refuses to die. You've realized that the real enemy isn't failure, it's fear. Fear of judgment, fear of disappointment, fear of not being enough. But here's the truth you've learned the hard way: fear loses its power the moment you stop running from it. The moment you face it head on, you become unstoppable. Every time you've been counted out, it only made your comeback stronger. Every no pushed you closer to the yes that was meant for you. Every failure carved out a piece of your strength, shaping you into someone who no longer relies on perfect conditions to keep going. Because you now understand that life isn't about waiting for things to get easier. It's about becoming tougher. And you've done exactly that. You don't rise this time to prove anything to anyone else. You rise because you've finally realized your worth. You rise because you've finally chosen yourself. You rise because you've finally decided that quitting isn't an option anymore. The word quit doesn't belong in your vocabulary now. It's been replaced with persistence, with consistency, with faith. You've redefined what success means. It's no longer about being ahead of others. It's about being ahead of who you used to be. So, when it's you vs you, understand this. The old you will fight to stay alive. It will tempt you with comfort, with excuses, with fear. But the new you, the one forged through failure and pain, knows better. That version of you doesn't beg for motivation. It builds discipline. That version doesn't crumble when things get hard. It thrives in the fire. That version knows that pain is temporary, but quitting makes it permanent. And this time, you're not that same person who used to give up when it got tough. You've evolved. You've earned your strength through the storms you survived. You've built your armor from the lessons you've learned. You've proven that no setback, no doubt, no failure can define you unless you let it. But you won't. Not now. Not ever. Because quitting, that's no longer in your DNA. So here you are, standing at the edge of everything you've been and everything you're about to become. The noise of the world fades, and it's just you now, you and your reflection, you and your choices, you and the version of yourself that refuses to back down anymore. You've been through storms, through silence, through moments where no one believed in you, not even you. But this time, something's different. There's a fire behind your eyes that can't be put out. There's a conviction in your heart that won't let you quit. This time, you're not just fighting for a goal. You're fighting for the person you promised yourself you'd become. Look at how far you've come. Look at the battles you've survived that no one saw. Look at the nights you cried quietly and still showed up the next morning. That's not weakness. That's power. That's resilience. That's you proving again and again that no matter how hard life hits, you'll always rise. Because every time you fall and get back up, you remind the world and yourself that you were never built to break. You've wasted enough energy doubting yourself. You've apologized too many times for dreaming big. You've listened to too many voices telling you to slow down, to fit in, to stop wanting more. But here's the truth. There is nothing small about your purpose. There is nothing ordinary about your fire. You weren't born to blend in with the crowd. You were born to stand out, to lead, to inspire, to live a story that others can look at and say, if they can do it, so can I. This time you rise differently. Not with arrogance, but with quiet strength. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. You've seen what failure feels like. Now it's time to feel what victory feels like. You've seen what quitting does. Now it's time to see what happens when you don't. You've felt the pain of giving up. Now feel the pride of pushing through. You owe that to yourself. Remember, this life isn't waiting for you to be ready. The perfect time doesn't exist. There is no moment when fear disappears completely. You'll always feel it, and that's okay. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. So don't wait for the fear to go away. Walk with it. Run with it. Let it remind you that you're alive and that you're chasing something that matters. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right where you need to be, in the middle of the fight, in the middle of your becoming. Every setback was a setup. Every loss was a lesson. Every closed door redirected you to a better one. And every time you thought it was over, it was really just beginning. The world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe yourself everything. You owe yourself discipline. You owe yourself consistency. You owe yourself the kind of focus that turns dreams into reality. You owe yourself the life you've imagined 1,000 times. You owe it to the version of you who believed before anyone else did. You owe it to the one who didn't quit when it would have been easier to walk away. So when that voice in your head starts whispering, you can't, you answer back, watch me. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of every time you've already come back stronger. When fear tries to take over, remind it that you've danced with it before, and you're still here. You've already survived the worst days of your life. What could possibly stop you now? They counted you out. They said you were done. They said you didn't have what it takes. But what they didn't understand is that your strength doesn't come from their approval. It comes from your persistence. They can doubt you. They can underestimate you. They can turn their backs on you. But they can't outwork you. They can't outlast you. They cannot fight the person who refuses to stop showing up. Every time you rise, you send a message to the world, I'm not done yet. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you rewrite your story. Every time you silence the voice of doubt, you remind yourself that you are in control. This battle, this endless war between who you were and who you can be, will never end. But that's the beauty of it, because growth doesn't end, evolution doesn't stop. You will always be chasing a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of yourself, and that's exactly how it should be. The mirror will always ask the same question. Who are you today? And your answer must always be, better than I was yesterday. That's it. That's the goal. Not perfection, not comparison, progress every single day. Because when it's you, you don't need to win once, you need to win daily. You need to wake up and make choices that align with your future, not your feelings. Feelings are fleeting, but your purpose isn't. So rise, again and again, even when you're tired, even when it's hard, even when no one claps for you. Because the real victory isn't in the spotlight, it's in the shadows, in the grind, in the moments no one will ever see. That's where greatness is built. That's where legends are born. One day, you'll look back and realize that the fight was never against the world, it was always against your limits. And you'll smile, because you'll know you didn't just survive it, you conquered it. You became the proof that pain can turn into purpose, that failure can turn into fire, that doubt can turn into drive. You became your own inspiration. So stand tall, shoulder eyes forward, don't run from your reflection, face it. Because the person in the mirror is not your enemy anymore, it's your greatest ally. You've learned from the pain, you've earned your strength, and you're ready now. Ready to rise, ready to fight, ready to win. And remember this truth, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times the world tells you it's over, you hold the pen, you write the story, you decide the ending. It's you, and you can't lose this time.